he's not writing for queers.
No.
And I like the way that he kind of like baits and switches and never really clues you in on where he's really coming from.
Yeah.
And I just mean that, like, I write in this way because I don't have any ethical principles. Because I'm just
no morals.
a bad person. Yeah,
no, it is kind of like that.
Like, I'm sorry, but we need more unstable Machiavellian people in the city.
Need more doing things in the dark.
Literally.
Just thinking.
What do you think about this as a 9/11 novel?
Like this is set in the summer beforehand, and he's talking about like this energy in the summer beforehand, and everyone was going through like personal crises or breakups or like just really I don't know, chaotic moments in their life. And I feel, I don't know if you have this, but when I look back on the summer before, like the pandemic, for example, like 2019, 2020 summer, it's kind of a bit like that. And there was like the bushfires here, and it was like really eerie like red sun and like smoke.
It was like
everywhere.
foreshadowing.
Yeah, and I don't know, all these, like that summer as well, I felt a bit like this for me. And then this like big, massive like world event happens that changes everything and feels like bigger than you and like bigger than like decisions you can control.
Olivia Lane, the introducer, talks about how Gary plays with like these two different conceptions of time, which is like time as you see it like on a timeline, which happens in a linear way, historic time, if you will. And then there's like Kairos, which is kind of like the moment at which things happen. And it's kind of like the moment that we are in right now where you're just like talking with a friend. And it's like, yeah, I know that, I don't know, like a lot of scary things have happened in Sydney recently. But also, like, I'm going through a tough time and that's just as important.
Yeah, it's like these micro and macro.
Totally, yeah, micro and macro. Bigger world and like particular.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe
events.
that just like puts it in scale, but I also feel like maybe it was just for him because so much of it seems like, oh, this like, pretend it's a city thing of being like, New York is over, like everything's disintegrating, them, like him and all his friends and their careers are like over, and I don't know, like everything's kind of like foreclosed, and I feel like that's like maybe 9/11 was used in this book to like be that final full stop, like to
because it ends on September 9th, 2001.
Yeah, like 2 days before. But he started writing it before 9/11, but finished it afterwards, and then it was first published in 2003.
Right. And he makes a huge point out of like not wanting to go into 9/11 because he has ethics as a writer and he doesn't want to like capitalize off it.
Yeah.
Like he was the guy who made the disintegration loops.
Like the William Basinski.
William Basinski, which by the way, I feel like I can call him out because there's been like a billion like call out videos being like the disintegration loops aren't actually about 9/11. Like he made the tapes in the 80s and then he kind of just like repackaged it, rebranded it to be about 9/11. And I feel like so many people did that.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know, I feel like there's been a resurgence in 9/11 art.
Yes.
Or maybe
like
more so
anything
last
that
year.
comes to mind.
But
there's so
I
much
believe
like
it.
American history. I feel like you already have to have as like background knowledge and like all these names that I have no idea who they're talking about.
Exactly. I'm just like I have no dog in this race.
Yes.
But I believe that Bush did 9/11.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. sus.
What are our other conspiracy theory hot takes?
Conspiracy theories? In general, conspiracy theories?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a whole can of worms.
That is a whole can of worms.
Yes.
Anyway, book club.
Yeah, I feel like this ties in what we were just talking about.
You want to go from the part where it says, I finished the book before I sold the house.
Yep. I finished the book before I sold the house, but not before 9/11 happened. Writing 2/3 of it after that event probably added even more plangent notes to an already melancholic saga. I don't think I considered for more than a minute whether to incorporate the disaster itself into the narrative. I decided it would be grotesquely distasteful. Everything I'd written to that point reflected in some manner an unmentioned catastrophe that had either already happened or was about to occur, but this catastrophe existed inside my characters, who were drifting on a historical current more subliminally pitched than the daily news. I didn't want to exploit something actual that had affected millions in an immediate, dramatic way, or use it as some ghastly metaphor, or wheel it on stage as a spectacular backdrop for stories that were, by their nature, comparatively trivial. It was obvious to me that many people were busy penning exactly those kinds of things within minutes after the planes crashed into the Trade Center. That's showbiz. Even if literature is also showbiz, I like to think it's a reflective person's showbiz. So the book concludes on September 9, 2001, a day that nobody remembers, when the links between various microcosms I invented became full circle.
By Gary.
Just shout out Eugene, my friend who picked this book for book club, who I run my book club with. And he'll probably listen to this and just be like, they are talking shit.
Well, Eugene should come on this pod.
He should.
And talk about this.
He wants to do a podcast himself.
If y'all got something to say to my face. You know what I mean? Do you know who, actually Dennis Cooper's writing reminds me a lot of this scene.
Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't read him yet, but...
he literally writes gay smut.
Yeah.
And I was just reading that in class, and I'm like, no guys, I'm not reading porn. And actually,
get all the way
it's my podcast.
63.
63.
I think, if that's what I remember. Yeah. So good. This is my favorite chapter.
Cool. Do you want to introduce the chapter and...
The chapter?
Yeah. Why do you like this chapter?
Big question. So we actually did this book for my book club that I run with my friend, Eugene, and Eugene picked this book. I hadn't actually heard of him before, but I really loved it. And this chapter is at a gallery in New York, and it's set just before 9/11 as well. And this chapter felt not only relatable with the gallery kind of gossip, the opening art world gossip, but also you get a strong sense of the narrator's voice, which the narrator is also kind of built on Gary himself. So I guess it's kind of like autofiction, but I don't know if he would ever use the word autofiction. Maybe he does.
No.
Yeah.
I think this is after HIV medication came out, so, but it wasn't at a level where, these days you could be on, PrEP and basically not have HIV and live a normal life. But this is, at a point where, they're still sick and they're kind of just, these perpetual patients.
Yeah, totally.
And their friends are literally sorry, I'm at emotional capacity. I can't hold space for you right now.
Totally. Yeah, it's over a decade of this epidemic. And I guess they're kind of it's weird in this book because there's this push and pull of them being like the characters and the narrator specifically being so angry and pissed off and sick of everyone, but also still shows up in all these small ways.
Yeah.
I think, and it's like, it's confusing where they stand.
Totally. But I kind of like the facade of cynicism. So this is in the introduction by Olivia Lang. Cynicism, it occurs to me now, is also a way of protecting the loved one from being tarnished by those who proclaim it too easily, as well as those who trample it underfoot. The repellent machinations of the art world, the dumb, risible mechanics of so-called literary culture, these have long been Indiana's targets. Earnestness, hypocrisy, cliché are the near enemies of art, which threaten to topple it into meaninglessness, as certain an execution as defunding or censorship. Which I feel like is just such a good... I don't know, it's like profound, because it's like... Like, cynicism is kind of a cope for the fact that you do still care and you do still like believe that there is such thing as truth and that it has any kind of weight in art.
Yeah, I feel like it reminded me of what's her name, Franz Leibowitz. I don't know.
Totally.
And that it's that generation and that like
Fran Leibowitz?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Like, yeah. But that level of like, I don't know, like older New York writer, like cynic.
Absolutely.
Like,
that like dry, matter-of-fact humor.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like...
But I find it more bearable when Gary does it.
Actually, no, we love Fran.
I'm undecided.
I
don't know her well enough.
She's like caustic in a way where I could be like, I'm like, it's possible for me to imagine myself as one of her targets, and therefore that makes me...
What would she target you for? What would she say?
I don't know, like, because I'm not a slow walker, but I'm definitely not a slow walker. Like, literally, when I see like someone walking slowly in Sydney, I'm like, pretend it's a city, guys.
Yeah.
Like, pretend we live in a city and pretend that like other people are trying to get places, but I kind of
that's
don't.
The part I'm related to.
I kind of don't have any like spatial awareness, so I walk quickly, but like I do get in people's ways.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like I can imagine her being fed up with me, and that makes me like kind of keep her at a distance. But I respect her, and I respect the place that she holds
totally.
within sort of like urbane gay culture. So
yeah, I know.
Good for her.
Definitely. The first third of the book is really, I found it really hard to get into. There's so many different names, really unique style of writing, and it just kind of goes all over the place. This is towards the end, once I'm in it a bit more, and the first paragraph just, I mean, the sentence alone, like the few authentically educated, earnest people in the art world wake up contemplating suicide 5 mornings every week, just hit me straight, because I was literally in that place while reading this. Working in the arts can be so exhausting.
Literally.
Yeah,
because it's like when you... I don't know, I feel like people who put on the front of being jaded are like the only ones who are upfront about like no BS with you.
Yes.
And like, it's the art world, and like everyone's really fake, everyone's really kayfabe, and you kind of have to like put on this front straight up, like everyone's pretending it's all Gucci, but it's not.
So, classic, I told Leon. Miles gets an idea, broods about it for 10 years, eventually somebody else does something with that same idea.
Who is Miles? Leon's eyes scour the room for boys.
You know Miles.
Remind me, says Leon, but his attention wanders to a tall Jamaican guy in John Lennon glasses he recognizes at the drinks table.
He said the original title was like Psychotic Network.
Psychotic Friends Network?
Friends Network, that's it.
Like, I don't get the reference, but
We're enacting that.
Yeah, exactly.
I just mean like the psychosis of us
Totally.
interchanging between the friends.
Yes, no, this is our schizoanalytical, like, creative, rhizomatic reading. Yeah, we met him, like, last year. He's close to that guy who lives in Barcelona, Mark. You met him at our place.
Mark?
Super cute guy. He's got warrants out on him, domestic abuse out of his decade boyfriend, felony assault.
Cool, let's try the next one. The next page.
Listen, she says, moving her face close. I need a favour.
Anything.
I say, except I think B&E on some corporate headquarters. My dad's coming over to visit, she says. They're letting him out of the spa, like soon. Maybe a couple weeks. I was hoping the three of us could have dinner. I mean, before, if Malcolm comes. I shrugged.
Sure.
Sorry.
But why me in particular? Why not a bunch of people have a little party?
He'll like you. He won't like our other friends. You're kind of an established person. You've written books. That'll impress him. I have friends at your level.
I doubt if my level would impress your father.
I say. No, she protests. You're like a celebrity. This is getting awkward.
Maybe to you, but in the larger picture, I'm absolutely nothing.
That's just not true. That's just not true. Sorry, different character here. Malcolm's voice sends shivers down my back. His camera lens fixes on me like a Glock automatic. You're like really admired, Malcolm says. Super admired. Anna amplifies.
Why don't you just admit you want me to meet him because I'm the only friend you have who's close to his age?
Well, Susanna, there's that too.
Okay, fine, I say. I mean, I'd like to meet him as long as he doesn't tell me when I'm going to die.
Anna laughs. Dad keeps that kind of information to himself, she says. Come see us. If my dad comes soon, I'll call you and set something up. Leon is making himself interesting to a pencil-thin youth with ash blonde ringlets and a face out of a Zourrybot, Zourrybot? Ernesto, the artist, smiling wide-eyed, feigning excessive modesty, dazed by the turnout. Femme, I decide, Leon's type.
This is a very ballsy show.
You think the show is balls? He asks. He makes a hurt face. No, Leon explains. In America, this means bold, brave.
For reference as well, like him talking about Anna's dad. Anna's dad is a character I love. He's been hit by lightning twice and has the ability to be, like, to tell
the future.
Yeah, to fortune tell.
Do you know if Anna is like a pseudonym for like? Because I know that Tova Finkelstein is meant to be Susan Sontag, which is just so funny. Do you know if Anna is like a real person?
It would be. I'm not sure who it is, though.
Right, but it's not really revealed.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
There's another character in here, not in any of these ones we have printed out, but there's someone who's David.
Yeah, David.
David W.
David W. Straight up. And I think Nan Golden, who we love. We're really stacking out the lit scene. Okay, let's do the intro.
Yep, grave goods.
And maybe we can like unpack each paragraph.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like, I don't know, manage my ADHD because I will forget things.
Okay, I'll start. There is no good news. Badness ongoing, the perpetual aftermath of catastrophe. Not that it's any inoculation against future damage or mishap. Quote, I hardly need to tell you that the worst has already happened, is happening now, will happen tomorrow, and the next month, and a year from Sunday, unquote, says Do Everything in the Dark's narrator, an aging writer named Gary, Indiana.
So true.
Yeah.
I think later on they're like, oh my god, and this is before Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's like...
I love that as a checkpoint.
Rip Gary, Indiana, you would have loved Instagram threads happened.
No, please. Please, no.
It's the summer of 2001 in New York City, a civilization long swallowed by money, long since swallowed whole by money. The layout of the city streets might be familiar, but it's a simulacrum, the shell of a destroyed culture wiped out by AIDS, dispossessed by rising rent and drug addiction. The new age's electronic, upbeat, ravenous in its consumerism. People, the narrator writes prophetically, of the 21st century's doomed romance with technology, were turning into things, had already turned to things. I think that's what they're called, but they're not like the film ones, like they're the electronic ones from the 2000s.
Right, yeah. They're coming back.
I'm like obsessed with like collecting like technology from the like late 90s, like early 2000s at the moment. Like I just bought a Walkman.
Oh yes.
Which I think is from the 80s.
A CD one?
No, it's like a cassette one.
Oh, cool.
So I think it is from the 80s.
Yeah, nice.
But I've been browsing, like I plan on doing a listicle of like CD Walkmans.
Cool.
Ranked by like my favorite designs.
Yes, please do that.
And it's like, I don't know, like, because when I was growing up, like not to age myself, what do you mean? I grew up in the 2010s.
Yeah, Gen Alpha.
I feel like that kind of like design with the like smooth Macs was kind of just like banal and mundane.
Yes.
During that era, but now it's like, I don't know, like it's...
The iPod Nano's low.
Totally.
So cute.
And I'm like, this is so like ahead of the curve and like neoliberal held.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, definitely.
Like it's so, I don't know,
What
it was
have
like...
you been listening to in your Walkman?
I have a Eurythmics cassette that came with the Walkman, and I also have this like random
This is
cassette.
so main character syndrome.
It literally is.
Walking down the street listening
to Eurythmics, pretend with my Walkman, which no one else knows what that is.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, no one in Strathfield Willies. Oh my god, I just docked myself.
Central
knows that I have.
Central
I have
City
retro.
Willies.
Literally knows that I have retro tech right now.
Wait, how did we get to Walkmans?
Because they were talking about the 21st century's doomed romance with technology.
Oh, totally.
And the way he's like making it out to be cyberpunk.
Yeah.
2077.
Wait, what?
The way he's like making it out to be like Blade Runner when it's literally like,
Oh yeah.
babe, you're in the 2000s.
Yeah. It's 2001.
Literally.
Summer of 2001.
Straight up.
I'll go on with the next paragraph.
Go for it.
Indiana and his friends represent the undead, shell-shocked survivors of a 1980s demi-monde, an obsolete avant-garde playwrights, novelists, and a bit part actors who have awoken in a millennium no longer interested in la vie de bohème, except as set dressing for more effectively commercial operations. Everything is contaminated. Love is impossible. Hope foreclosed years ago. Like people marooned in a shipwreck, they cling stubbornly to old habits. No coincidence that the novel is set in motion by a box of photographs or continues by way of actual paper letters. Archaic modes of communication from a spent century, its ambitions and aspirations diminishing by the hour.
Straight up. I'll just continue.
Yeah.
The season is conducted in Manhattan and its outposts. Anna sees her shrink and mutes her worries with escalating doses of heroin. Denise and Carolyn have bottomed out in Santa Fe, which might as well be Mars. Jessie shifts aimlessly from Venice to Rome to Istanbul. That literally was me. Picking up trade and worrying about being robbed. Though the catastrophe, when it comes, is much closer to home. His friend Arthur writes plaintive letters from an unnamed island in the Mediterranean, where he finds himself an unwilling attendant in the court of two grotesquely wealthy married artists. No one, it is fair to say, is having much of a summer.
Go on. To Everything in the Dark begins life as a series of stories to accompany paintings of the real Gary Indiana's real friends, and retains a fragmentary, ragged, unexpectedly intimate feel. It's a novel in parts about people gone to pieces, a Roman, a clef, as we used to say, featuring lightly disguised satirical portraits of various downtown figures. Here we go. Among them, Anne Goldine, David W., and Renee Ricard. Cookie Mueller is the most affectionately cast as the charismatic, lisping Millie Ferguson, while Susan Sontag is vibrantly unpleasant as fat-ass Tova Finkelstein, butch intellectual empress of unimpeachable vanity and self-regard.
I just love the way this book drags Susan Sontag.
It really does.
But kind of from a sort of like, I don't know, like bitter, snide, like.
Because I feel like she's maybe the one person in the scene who kind of like makes it as far as a like intellectual kind of thing. And I think he can see, like, I don't know if you've read the part about her like helping his friend with the play.
No.
But like it really details how she's kind of like using him and then drops him and that kind of thing. So I think it's like him being a cynic, but like underneath it is his sincerity.
Yeah, like he's trying to protect his friends from self-serving narcissists in the New York art scene who make a buck out of like writing like Jermaine Greer-ass like gender theory and media theory. I'm so done with media theory.
Yeah, part of me got defensive though, like reading some of it being like, I don't know, worried it was just going to be like misogynistic dragging. Like
it's so misogynistic.
Yeah.
It's straight up is like it's kind of all of the like worst stereotypes about New York gays.
Fully
coming out of the horse's mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he admits to all of these things. And
but
it's
then
funny
I just
like
drink it up. Like when I'm reading it, I just like yes.
Straight up. It's like refreshingly honest, and I think commitment to truth is something that I genuinely appreciate in literature. Like I can tell when a writer is bullshitting or I guess kind of like posing for an audience. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure.
How can you tell? It's a feeling, gut feeling.
Just my intuition.
Yeah. always knows.
Literally. But this is giving mother.
It's giving mother. It's giving Indiana's giving mother. Can we jump to this paragraph?
Yes.
On the title. Do Everything in the Dark, title and epigraph alike derive from Jonathan Swift's Directions to Servants, 1745, a posthumously published satire of the 18th century conduct book in which the advice is grossly upended so that at every turn the servant cheats and deceives his master. No one could accuse Swift of progressive intentions here. He wasn't exposing the inequalities of the class system, why should one man respond to the whistle of another, so much as poking fun at the unchanging absurdity of human nature, its venality and foolishness, in the form of servants who feign deafness to a call of blame, smash china on the cat. So...
That is so true.
Yeah. So I was looking into it more because I was so confused about the title. But basically, it was a book written by someone, Jonathan Swift.
Epigraphs are so important.
Yeah, that's satire on servants servants doing everything wrong and how to like annoy your master or that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
like
at the
people
time it was
champion.
written when servants would have been illiterate, so it wasn't even for servants.
No.
Like it isn't like this, I don't know, amazing.
This like rebellious,
yeah.
like progressive, like
It's
people
actually,
like to champion
yeah,
Jonathan
for like
Swift.
masters to like laugh at the idea of that even being a possibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think he wasn't even like he was on England's side. So Henry, do you know this? Is Jonathan Swift Irish? He is Irish. You're allowed to talk.
Yeah, please.
No, I know. I just don't know anything about him.
Yeah,
No, me neither. But I think he wasn't like actually on. Okay, it wasn't in the time of the IRA, but
It's a couple hundred years before then. I'm pretty sure it's late 18th century.
okay,
It was simmering.
normalize podcast hosts who don't know dick about shit.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I
I'm
don't
just
know
like my
this.
brain is smooth.
Yeah, usually.
I'm just having fun.
We're just exercising our smooth brains right now.
I swear, there's nothing more suburban and
Yeah, then a leaf blower.
there's nothing more like indicative of the Australian mindset than having a fucking leaf blower and thinking it's okay to just like do that.
I know.
And maybe it's not assertive
Absolutely.
enough, but I don't think he's going to stop. He said he was stuck in 2 minutes, so you can cut.
Oh my god, Jonathan Swift. Anyway, he's
He
like
was
not.
he was Anglo-Irish, and
He was Anglo-Irish, and he
the
was-
Whigs and the Tories, not the.
Yeah, he was on the Tory side. Like people are like, he's so progressive. By the way, Henry, do you have a vape?
I don't know, it just kind of feels like this like double bind like moment where it's like this kind of like text that's like kind of about the servants like, you know, striking, so to speak. But then it's also like, but it's not for the servants. It's for like the entertainment of the like masters. I don't know, and it just feels like this bind or like this weird place that Gary finds himself in where it's like
Right.
in between worlds.
Because it's not actually written for his friends. Like, it's a scene gossip column, not for the scene.
Yeah.
It's for the masters.
Yeah, and he
Who are the masters?
He says as well at some point as well, he's like the only reason people figured out who people are in this book isn't because he wanted like that to be the intention, but he was like, just because I'm bad at disguising who people are.
Right, yeah.
Is what he said. He was kind of like, I don't know.
He's like,
too hard to stray from the real thing, and sometimes the real thing is interesting enough, I guess.
totally. He's
and
like,
also it's like literary famous, so it's like people can just piece it together.
exactly. I find it funny that he is kind of like self-aware and he does, like he's very upfront about riding on the coattails of his like more famous literary friends, such as Susan Sontag, who have made it in a commercial way. And yet this still holds as like a work of art. Like the writing is, I don't know, it's beautiful and it's like...
So good, so sharp. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Audrey
you.
and Aubrey up in the
I know,
shit.
so good, love that.
Just, you know, meeting of the
Like twin
minds.
flames.
Yeah, no, Audrey is in charge of a magazine project called On Projects.
Projects, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Can't wait to
busy.
read 18.2 and 18.1, I think.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, no, I'm like so excited to
Yeah,
get into those.
Prince
I'm
Not
like
Dead.
collecting
Yeah,
and
on that way.
archiving the Sydney magazine at the moment.
Awesome.
So, yeah, plug those reads and cool.
Thank you.